there in stratum D2, dating to the time of Joseph. All the remains are Asiatic in nature. The material culture there is Asiatic, nothing is Egyptian.
A map of the excavation site confirms its distinctly Israelite origins.
And there was one house in particular which was larger than the other houses. And it was laid out in kind of a horseshoe fashion around a central courtyard. And then around this rather large structure were smaller structures. And this perhaps may be the very first house built using this design.
Archaeologists immediately recognized that the design of this horseshoe-shaped dwelling was identical to structures built in Israel centuries later. It was a prototype of Hebrew architecture constructed near the time Joseph was believed to have lived in Egypt.
And Joseph died, but the children of Israel were fruitful and multiplied, and the land was filled with them. Then there arose a new king over Egypt, who did not know Joseph. And he said, "Look, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let us deal with them, lest they join our enemies and fight against us."
The scriptures tell us that following Joseph's death, Pharaoh drove the Israelite population into slavery. Several archaeological discoveries have also confirmed this aspect of the biblical account. Excavations throughout the Nile Delta have unearthed walls of mud brick resembling those the Bible states were once molded by the hands of Israelite slaves. This practice was vividly illustrated in an 18th dynasty tomb painting depicting foreign slaves making bricks from mud and straw. An inscription on the mural echoes the slave master's dreaded warning. "The rod is in my hand, be not idle." Another mural, carved in a tomb wall during the 15th century BC, shows Canaanite slaves working in the vineyards of Goshen. And fragments of the Brooklyn Papyrus, dating back more than 3,700 years, report the transfer of domestic slaves from one Egyptian owner to another. Each slave was listed by name. More than half the names noted were characteristically Hebrew. There is now little doubt that a significant Israelite population lived in Egypt for several hundred years after the time of Joseph.
One of the more remote but promising archaeological sites in the Sinai is the mountain of Serebet el Khadim. The mountain is a 2-hour drive across difficult and often treacherous terrain. Jim Hoffmeyer is an Egyptologist from Wheaton College in Indiana. He disputes the claim that the Hebrews were never in Egypt. Near the top of the mountain is a network of cave openings. They're actually mines, gouged out in search of a precious stone. Turquoise. It was mined by slaves from all corners of the Egyptian empire. Some of the slaves were clearly not Egyptian, but Semitic, and possibly even Hebrew. This graffiti is in Semitic, the language from which Hebrew is derived.
We have here the two letters which read El, which is a Semitic term for God. And then to the right, there is an adjective describing this God, an attribute, and it's the word Olam, which means eternal. And the significance of this is, of course, that this is very similar to the type of names of God that we have in the book of Genesis, where God is referred to as El Shaddai, God Almighty, or El Elyon.